The message arrived on December 10th, while I was in a video conference with our development team in Bangalore. I was reviewing the latest iteration of our AI-powered financial analytics platform when my phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at the screen during a brief pause in the presentation. Family group chat.
Mom.
Mom, need to talk about Christmas plans. I muted my mic and kept listening to the presentation while watching the chat unfold. Mom, Brandon and Isabel want to host at our house this year. Her parents are flying in from Connecticut. Very prestigious family. Her father is a partner at a law firm. Brandon, my younger brother, it's going to be pretty formal. Isabel's family is used to a certain standard. I could already see where this was going. Mom, the thing is, Isabel mentioned that she'd prefer to keep it to immediate family and her parents. She wants everyone to make a good impression. The three dots appeared and disappeared several times. I waited. Mom, Sophie, maybe it would be better if you skipped Christmas this year. Brandon and Isabel are really trying to impress her family, and you know how you are. I stared at the screen. Brandon, no offense, sis, but Isabel thinks you might not fit the vibe. You're kind of casual. Her family is very polished. Dad chimed in. Honestly, we agree. This is important for your brother's future. Maybe you could do your own thing this year. I read the messages 3 times. The presentation ended. My team was waiting for feedback. I unmuted. Excellent work, everyone. Let's proceed to beta testing. Rajesh, send me the deployment timeline by end of day. I closed the laptop and picked up my phone. Me? Understood. I muted the family chat and returned to work. 20 minutes later, my assistant knocked on my office door at Technova's headquarters. Sophie, the Forbes photographer will be here at 2 for the cover shoot. Hair and makeup are setting up in the conference room. I checked my watch. Perfect. And the interview? Scheduled for 4 p.m. They want to focus on the Series C funding and your vision for democratizing financial technology.
Great.
Thanks, Michelle. After she left, I looked out at the San Francisco skyline and smiled. My family thought I'd embarrass them at Christmas. Forbes thought I was worth putting on their cover. Brandon and I had never been particularly close, but we'd been civil growing up. He was 3 years younger, and we'd simply existed in different worlds. He'd always been my parents' favorite. Not because he was smarter or kinder or more ambitious, just because he fit the mold they understood. Traditional career path, traditional relationship, traditional life goals. Brandon had gone to a good state school, gotten a degree in business administration, and landed a job as a marketing manager at a mid-sized pharmaceutical company. He made about $90,000 a year.
Solid.
Respectable. Safe. He'd met Isabel 6 months ago at a networking event. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, came from old money in Connecticut, and had very specific ideas about class and presentation. My parents had been immediately enamored with her. She was polished, sophisticated, conventionally attractive. She wore designer clothes, spoke eloquently about wine, and had gone to an elite private college. Finally, my mother had said, someone who can elevate this family's image. I'd met Isabel exactly once, at Brandon's birthday dinner 2 months ago. She'd looked me up and down, taking in my jeans, simple sweater, and minimal makeup, and smiled tightly. So, you're the sister. Brandon mentioned you work in computers? Software development, yes. How interesting. I could never understand all that technical stuff. I'm much more of a people person. She'd spent the rest of the dinner talking about her family's summer home in the Hamptons and her sorority's charity galas. My mother had hung on every word. I'd excused myself early, citing a work deadline. Because I did have a deadline. I was 3 weeks away from closing a Series C funding round that would value my company at $1.2 billion. What my family didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask about, was what I actually did in computers. They knew I was a software developer. They knew I worked in San Francisco. They assumed I was a mid-level programmer at some tech company, making decent money but nothing extraordinary. They had no idea I was the founder and CEO of Technova, a financial technology company that was revolutionizing how small businesses manage their finances. I'd started Technova 6 years ago after working as a software engineer at a major bank. I'd seen how expensive and complicated financial management tools were for small businesses. Most couldn't afford enterprise software, so they used spreadsheets or outdated systems. I'd built a platform that used AI and machine learning to provide sophisticated financial analytics, forecasting, and management tools at a fraction of the cost. We served over 50,000 small businesses across North America. Our first funding round had been modest, $2 million from angel investors. But we'd grown fast. Really fast. Last year's revenue was $87 million. We had 240 employees across 3 offices. I'd been featured in TechCrunch, Bloomberg, and Business Insider. And now Forbes wanted me on their cover for their 30 Under 30 issue. I was 29 years old, and my company was worth $1.2 billion after the Series C round closed. My personal equity was worth approximately $380 million. I lived simply, a nice but not ostentatious condo in the Mission District, drove a Tesla Model 3, wore jeans and hoodies most days because that was the tech industry culture. I didn't flaunt my wealth because I was too busy building something that mattered. My family had interpreted all of this as lack of success. They'd never asked about my company. They'd never asked about my role. When I tried to explain what Technova did, their eyes glazed over. "That's nice, honey," my mother had said once. "But when are you going to settle down and think about marriage? You can't code forever." Brandon had been more direct. "You know, sis, I could probably get you an interview at my company. The pay's not tech level, but it's stable. More respectable than startup culture." They thought I needed career advice. I was about to close a billion-dollar funding round. The Forbes photographer arrived at exactly 2 p.m. His assistant set up lights in our main conference room, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Our head of PR had arranged everything: the backdrop, the styling, the messaging. The photographer reviewed the shot list. "We want power and approachability. You're disrupting finance, but you're also this young woman who built something from nothing. That's the story." Hair and makeup took 40 minutes. They kept my look natural. Minimal makeup, hair straightened and polished but not overdone. Professional but not stuffy. The stylist had broad options: blazers, dresses, a leather jacket. We settled on a fitted black blazer over a simple white tee, dark jeans, and heels. Tech CEO meets Forbes cover. The shoot took 2 hours. Different poses, different backgrounds, different energy. "Think about what you've built," the photographer said. "Think about the impact. Let me see that pride." I thought about 50,000 small businesses that could now afford sophisticated financial tools. I thought about 240 employees whose lives I'd changed. I thought about the 15-year-old girl who'd learned to code in her bedroom and dreamed of building something meaningful. The camera clicked. "Perfect," the photographer said. "That's the cover shot." The Forbes journalist arrived at 4 p.m. Her name was Rebecca Chun, and she'd done her research. We sat in my office, and she pulled out her recorder. "Let's start with the obvious question. You're about to close a Series C round at a $1.2 billion valuation. You're 29 years old. How does that feel?" Surreal. But also like the natural result of 6 years of relentless work. "Tell me about starting Technova. You were 23, fresh out of working at a major bank. What made you think you could compete with established financial software companies?" I didn't think about competition. I thought about a problem that needed solving. Small businesses were drowning in spreadsheets or paying thousands for software they couldn't fully utilize. I knew I could build something better, more accessible, more intelligent. And you did it without venture capital initially. The first 2 years were bootstrapped. I built the initial product myself, living off savings from my banking job. I launched with 5 beta clients, small businesses owned by friends and family who trusted me. When they started seeing results, they referred others. Revenue funded growth. When did you know Technova was going to be huge?
I thought about that.
Month 18. We hit 1,000 clients, and our churn rate was below 2%. That meant we weren't just attracting customers. We were keeping them. They were seeing real value. That's when I knew we had something special. Rebecca asked about challenges, about being a young woman in tech, about my vision for the company's future. What about your personal life? How do you balance running a unicorn startup with everything else? I don't balance well, I admitted. My work is my life right now. I'm okay with that. I'm building something that matters more to me than traditional milestones. No family pressure to settle down? I laughed. My family doesn't really understand what I do. They think I'm a programmer at a tech company. They don't know about Technova's valuation or growth or any of it. Rebecca's eyebrows rose. They don't know you're about to be on the Forbes cover?
No.
And I'm not planning to tell them. They'll find out when everyone else does. That's quite a surprise. They're full of surprises for me, too. I didn't elaborate, but Rebecca seemed to sense there was a story there. The week before Christmas, the family group chat continued its planning. Mom, Isabel's parents arrive on the 23rd. We're doing a cocktail party that evening. Very elegant. Brandon, Isabel found this great catering company. The menu looks amazing. Isabel had been added to the family chat. She posted photos of table settings, wine selections, outfit options. Isabel, I want everything to be perfect. First impressions with my parents are so important. Mom, everything will be beautiful, dear. We're so excited to host. Dad, just got the wine delivery. Isabel, your selections were excellent. No one mentioned my absence. No one asked how I was spending Christmas. I'd been edited out of the family narrative entirely. My assistant noticed me scrolling through the chat during a meeting break. Everything okay? My family uninvited me from Christmas because I'd embarrass my brother's fiancée. Michelle's jaw dropped. What? They think I'm unsuccessful and unsophisticated. They don't want me around her wealthy Connecticut family. Do they know about any of this? She gestured around my office, at the startup worth over $1 billion. Nope. Are you going to tell them? Forbes is doing that for me. The issue drops Christmas morning. Michelle started laughing. Oh my God. This is going to be incredible. Christmas Eve, I was in my condo, reviewing Q4 numbers and planning Q1 strategy when my phone rang. Jessica, my college roommate, and still one of my closest friends. Please tell me you're not working on Christmas Eve. I'm just reviewing some reports.
Sophie, come on.
It's Christmas Eve. Even tech CEOs are allowed to take a break. I'm taking tomorrow off, I pointed out.
To do what?
Sit alone in your apartment while your family has their fancy Christmas without you. I told Jessica about being uninvited. She'd been furious on my behalf.
I've seen Jess.
Really? Come to my parents' house tomorrow. You know you're always welcome.
My mom would love to see you.
I appreciate that. But I'm okay. I have plans. What plans? Watching my family's reaction when Forbes hits newsstands. Jessica laughed. You're terrible. I love it. You're really not going to warn them. Why would I? They didn't warn me before uninviting me from Christmas. Fair point. Send me screenshots of the messages. I want to see this unfold in real time. After we hung up, I looked at the advance copy of Forbes that had been messengered to me earlier that day. There I was on the cover. Professional. Powerful. Confident. The headline. Sophie Martinez, the 29-year-old CEO democratizing finance. The subhead. How a self-taught programmer built a billion-dollar company that's changing how small businesses manage money. Inside, a 6-page spread with photos from the shoot and excerpts from the interview. They'd included a timeline of Technova's growth, quotes from clients, and commentary from industry analysts calling us the most exciting fintech company of the decade. There was a fact box with key information. Asterisk company valuation, $1.2 billion. Asterisk annual revenue, $87 million. Asterisk employees, 240. Asterisk clients served, 50,000 plus. Asterisk founders' equity value, $380 million. At the bottom of the article, a personal detail I'd shared. Despite her extraordinary success, Martinez's family doesn't know about Technova's valuation. They think I'm just a programmer, she says with a wry smile. They'll probably find out when this article publishes. I told Rebecca that during the interview, not thinking she'd include it. But there it was in print. My family was going to lose their minds. Christmas morning, I woke up early and made coffee. I had my phone on the counter, waiting. Forbes released the digital edition at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. By 6:03 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Jessica. OH my God, I just saw the Forbes cover. You look amazing. College friends, former colleagues, investors, board members,
Client.
everyone was texting, calling, emailing. Congratulations poured in. My PR team had coordinated social media posts. Technova's official accounts shared the cover. Tech news sites picked up the story. By 7 a.m., I was trending on Twitter. My family, I knew, was 3 hours ahead on the East Coast. They'd be waking up, making coffee, probably starting their elegant Christmas morning. At 7:14 a.m. Pacific, 10:14 a.m. Eastern, the family group chat exploded. Aunt Marie. I asked, this real? Aunt Marie. Screenshot of the Forbes cover. Aunt Marie. Sophie is on the Forbes cover? Uncle Tom. Holy shit. Sophie runs a billion-dollar company. Cousin Rachel. I'm reading the article now. She founded Technova. The Technova? I use their software for my business. The messages came rapid fire. Extended family members I barely heard from, all suddenly very aware of my existence. Then, at 7:19 a.m., Mom entered the chat. Mom. Sophie? Mom. We just saw Forbes. Mom. Can you please call us? Brandon. What the actual hell? Sophie. Brandon. You're a CEO? You're worth how much? Isabel. This has to be a mistake. Dad. Sophie, we need to talk. Call me immediately. I watched the messages roll in and took a sip of coffee. I didn't respond. At 7:47 a.m., my phone rang.
Mom.
I let it go to voicemail. It rang again.
Dad.
Voicemail. Brandon. Voicemail. They called 17 times in the next hour. I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb and went for a run. When I got back from my run, I had 43 voicemails. I showered, made breakfast, and settled in to listen. Mom's first message, 7:21 a.m. Sophie, what is going on? There's a Forbes magazine with your face on it. It says you run a billion-dollar company. This doesn't make any sense. Call me back immediately. Brandon, 7:33 a.m. Sis, I just read the entire Forbes article. You founded Technova? You're worth $380 million? And you never told us? What the hell? Dad, 7:41 a.m. Sophie, your mother is very upset. We're all very confused. We thought you were a software developer. Now we're reading that you're some kind of tech mogul? This is very embarrassing for us. Everyone is asking questions we can't answer. Isabel, 7:52 a.m. Sophie, it's Isabel.
I don't know what to say.
Brandon told me you worked in computers. He didn't mention you owned a major company. This is very awkward. The messages continued.
Shock.
Confusion. Embarrassment. Then, around 9 a.m., the tone shifted. Mom, 9:14 a.m. Sweetheart, I've been reading more about your company. It's very impressive. We had no idea you'd accomplished so much. We should talk about this. Maybe you could come over today after all? Isabel's parents would love to meet you. Brandon, 9:37 a.m. Sophie, look, I'm sorry about the whole Christmas thing. Obviously, we didn't understand what you do. You should definitely come today. Isabel's parents are fascinated by the Forbes article. Her dad wants to meet you. Dad, 10:02 a.m. Sophie, we're very proud of you. We should have paid more attention to your work. Please come to Christmas dinner. We want to celebrate your success as a family. Isabel, 10:23 a.m. Sophie, I owe you an apology. I made assumptions about you based on appearances. I didn't realize you were so accomplished. I'd really like a chance to get to know you better. Please join us today. I deleted all the voicemails without responding. I spent Christmas Day exactly as I'd planned. Alone, peacefully, working on strategy documents for Q1 and reading a novel I'd been meaning to finish for months. Around 3 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I checked the security camera. Brandon. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Sophie.
E.
Brandon. Can I come in? Why are you here? Because you won't answer your phone. Because Mom is losing her mind. Because I need to talk to my sister. I stepped aside and let him enter. He walked into my condo and stopped, looking around. It was nice, modern, spacious, with a stunning view of the city. Not ostentatious, but clearly expensive.
Wow.
This place is worth about $2.3 million. I finished. I bought it 3 years ago. He sat down on my couch without being invited. He looked exhausted. I fucked up, he said quietly. Yes, you did. I should have known. I should have asked about your work, your company, your life. I assumed. You assumed I was unsuccessful because I don't dress like Isabel or talk about expensive things. You let your fiancé judge me. You let Mom and Dad exclude me from Christmas. And you agreed that I'd embarrass you. I know. And now you're here, because Forbes put me on their cover and suddenly I'm worth knowing. He flinched. That's not fair. It's completely fair. If Forbes hadn't published that article, would you be here? Would you have ever asked about Technova or what I'm building or why I care about it? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. Sophie, I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because you're on Forbes, but because I was a shitty brother. I dismissed you. I let Isabel dismiss you. I prioritized impressing her family over including my own sister. Why? Because it was easier. Isabel's family has money and connections, and this whole world I wanted to be part of. You seemed content with your simple life. I didn't think you cared about being included. I didn't care about your Christmas dinner, Brandon. I cared that my own family decided I wasn't good enough for it. He nodded slowly. The article mentioned that we don't know about your success. That's how you found out we didn't know. Rebecca asked about work-life balance. I mentioned that my family doesn't really understand what I do. She asked why, and I told her you all think I'm just a programmer. I didn't expect her to print it, but I'm glad she did. Mom is mortified. Isabel's parents read that part. They asked why we didn't know our own daughter was a Forbes cover story. Mom didn't have a good answer. There isn't a good answer. You never asked because you never cared. I care now.
Do you?
Or are you just impressed by the valuation?
He was quiet for a long time.
Then, both. I'm impressed by what you've built, yes. But I'm also ashamed that I didn't see it. That I was so focused on appearances and Isabel's approval that I couldn't see my own sister was building something extraordinary. I sat down across from him. Brandon, here's what you need to understand. I didn't hide this from you. I tried to tell you about Technova when we launched. You weren't interested. I tried to explain our funding rounds. You changed the subject. I stopped trying because it was clear you didn't care about my work unless it fit your definition of success. I know. So, what changed? Why are you here now? Because I saw that Forbes cover and realized I don't know my own sister. Because Isabel's father, this Yale-educated managing partner, spent an hour reading about your company and asking me questions I couldn't answer. Because I looked like an idiot who didn't know his sister runs a billion-dollar company. So you're here because you were embarrassed. I'm here because I want to fix this. I want to know you. The real you. Not the version I created in my head. I studied his face. He looked genuine. Tired. Ashamed, but genuine. This isn't going to be fixed with one conversation, Brandon. I know. And I'm not coming to Christmas dinner to perform for Isabel's parents. I'm not going to be your show pony now that you've decided I'm impressive. I wouldn't ask you to. Then were you asking? For a chance. Not today, not even this week. But eventually. A chance to be a real brother. To understand what you're building and why it matters. To support you the way I should have all along. I thought about it. I'll think about it. He nodded and stood. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. At the door, he turned back. For what it's worth, the Forbes article is incredible. What you've built is incredible. I should have known that before Forbes told me. Yes, you should have. After he left, I sat in my condo, looking out at the city. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Did you read the messages in the family chat? Your mom is having a full meltdown. I opened the chat. I'd muted it, but now I scrolled through. 217 new messages. Extended family members congratulating me, asking questions, expressing shock, and my immediate family desperately trying to save face. Mom, we've always been so proud of Sophie. She's always been driven and brilliant.
Aunt Marie.
Really? Because you uninvited her from Christmas yesterday. Mom, that was a misunderstanding. We wanted her to enjoy a relaxing holiday instead of our chaos. Brandon, let's just say we made a mistake. We're working on fixing it. Isabel, I think there's been a lot of miscommunication. I'm looking forward to getting to know Sophie better. Cousin Rachel, miscommunication? You literally told her she'd embarrass you. I closed the chat without responding. The week after Christmas, Technova's office reopened. I threw myself back into work. The Forbes article had brought unprecedented attention. We were flooded with investment inquiries, partnership requests, and media interview requests. Our client acquisition rate jumped 30%. My PR team was managing dozens of interview requests. TechCrunch wanted a follow-up. Bloomberg wanted me on their podcast. CNN reached out about a segment on young tech entrepreneurs. In the middle of this chaos, my assistant buzzed me. Sophie, your mother is here. I sighed. Does she have an appointment?
No.
But she says she'll wait as long as it takes. How long has she been there? 2 hours. I checked my calendar. I had 30 minutes before my next meeting. Send her up. My mother walked into my office and stopped, staring around. The Forbes cover was framed on my wall, alongside articles from TechCrunch and Bloomberg, awards from industry groups, photos of the team at company milestones. This is quite an office, she said quietly. Thank you. I didn't know you had all of this. You never ask. She sat down without being invited. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. I came to apologize. Properly. Okay. I failed you, Sophie. I was so focused on Brandon and his life, on Isabel and her family, on maintaining this image of our family, that I didn't see what you were building. I dismissed your work because I didn't understand it. I excluded you from Christmas because I was more concerned with impressing Isabel's family than including my own daughter. Yes, you did all of those things. I don't have an excuse. I was shallow and status-obsessed, and I took you for granted. I assumed you were content with your simple life, so I focused on Brandon, who seemed to need more attention. I didn't need attention, Mom. I needed respect. I needed you to value me even when you didn't understand what I did. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know, and I didn't give you that. I'm sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or are you sorry Forbes exposed it?
Both, she admitted.
I'm sorry I excluded you. And I'm mortified that the whole world now knows we didn't know our own daughter was a Forbes cover story. At least you're honest. Isabel's parents asked me pointed questions at Christmas dinner. About why we didn't know. About what kind of parents don't recognize their daughter's success. I didn't have good answers. Because there aren't good answers. I know. She pulled a tissue from her purse. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why didn't you tell us? About Technova, about your success, about any of it. I tried, Mom. Multiple times. When we got our first major funding round, I called to share the news. You congratulated me for 30 seconds and then spent 40 minutes talking about Brandon's promotion to senior marketing manager. When we hit 10,000 clients, I mentioned it at Sunday dinner. You said, "That's nice, dear," and asked when I was going to think about settling down. She flinched. You made it clear that my work only mattered if it fit your definition of success. So, I stopped sharing. I built my company, I built my life, and I did it without needing your validation. And now you're here because Forbes forced you to see me, not because you chose to. That's not entirely fair. The Forbes article was a wake-up call, yes. But it made me realize how much I've missed. How much I don't know about my own daughter. I want to change that. That's going to take time, Mom. And effort. Real effort. not just showing up when it's convenient. I understand. I'm willing to put in the work. We'll see. She stood to leave, then turned back. The article said you're worth $380 million. Approximately, yes. And you still drive that old Tesla and live simply. The Tesla is 2 years old, and my condo is worth over $2 million. I live within my means, but my means are substantial. You just never looked closely enough to notice. I see that now. After she left, I returned to my strategy documents. 3 months after the Forbes article, my relationship with my family is cautiously rebuilding. Mom and I have coffee once a month. She asks about Technova now, real questions about our growth, our challenges, our vision. She doesn't understand all the technical details, but she's trying. Brandon and I text occasionally. He's taking online courses in financial technology, trying to understand what I do. Last week he said, "I'm reading about AI and fintech. Is this what Technova uses?" It was a start. Isabel sent me a formal apology letter. She and Brandon broke up 6 weeks after Christmas. Apparently, the relationship couldn't survive the embarrassment of her misjudgment. I felt bad for Brandon, but not for her. Dad has been slower to come around, but he's trying. He forwarded me an article about Technova in the Wall Street Journal with a note. "Proud of you, kiddo." The most surprising development has been with extended family. Cousin Rachel, who uses Technova for her small business, has become genuinely interested in the company. We had lunch last month and talked for 3 hours about entrepreneurship and technology. Aunt Marie called to apologize for not being more supportive over the years. "I should have asked more questions," she said. "I should have seen what you were building." Forbes led to more opportunities. I was invited to speak at tech conferences, to join advisory boards, to mentor young entrepreneurs. The publicity from the article helped Technova close partnerships with major financial institutions. Our Q1 revenue was up 42% from Q4. We're on track to exceed $100 million this year. Last week, I was invited to ring the opening bell at NASDAQ when we announce our IPO plans next year. My mother asked if she could attend. "Of course," I said. "But you should know there will be photos. I'll be dressed in a blazer and jeans. Very casual. Very tech CEO. Will that embarrass you?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Sophie, I've learned my lesson. You could show up in pajamas and I'd still be proud. Don't worry. I'll wear the blazer Forbes photographed me in." Perfect. This Christmas, I'm hosting. Small gathering at my condo. Mom, Dad, Brandon, Aunt Marie, Uncle Tom, Cousin Rachel.
No Isabelle.
No pressure.
No performances.
Brandon asked what he should bring. "Just bring yourself," I told him. "That's enough." "Are you sure? I want to contribute." "Brandon, you being here and making an effort to know me. That's the contribution." Mom called yesterday. "What can I do to help with dinner?" "Just show up, Mom. That's all I need." "Sophie, I want you to know, I've been thinking about last Christmas. About uninviting you. I'll regret that for the rest of my life." "I know, Mom. I love you. I don't think I've said that enough in ways that mattered. I love you too. And I meant it. Because here's what I've learned. People can change. Not overnight, and not completely, but enough. The mother who uninvited me from Christmas now asks about my board meetings. The brother who said I'd embarrass him now studies fintech to understand my work. The family who dismissed me now shares my accomplishments with pride. It's not perfect, but it's real. And it's better than the alternative. Last year, they excluded me from Christmas because I'd embarrass them. This year, I'm hosting Christmas because I choose to forgive them. Not because Forbes made me successful. I was always successful. But because Forbes made them finally see what was there all along. The end. Sometimes people need external validation before they can value you. My family thought I was an unsuccessful programmer. Forbes thought I was worth putting on their cover as a billion-dollar CEO. The only thing that changed was their awareness. I was always building something extraordinary. They just weren't paying attention. Now they are. And that's their journey, not mine. I was already successful when they uninvited me from Christmas. I'm still successful now that they want me back. The difference is, now I know exactly who shows up when they think you have nothing and who only shows up when Forbes tells them you have everything. And that knowledge, that's worth more than any valuation.